Hello, this is Cookie66, and this is episode 5 of my Forge modding tutorials. And in this episode, we will be doing GUIs. Well, there's gonna be 3 different videos, maybe 4, for GUIs. This one is gonna be a basic GUI that that can be used on pretty much anything you like, but doesn't have any slots. And it's really simple. The next video is probably going to be tile entities and containers, so there'll be that, and then there'll be another video on having GUI overlays on the HUD, and maybe another one, maybe, I'm not sure. Alright, so let's get started. So I'll quickly show you the GUI I have made for this video. It is very, very bad. It's just white with no detail, and it's got this black box here, and then we've got these extra bits down here. So I'll explain these later, but let's make this GUI. So we're going to make a new package. Well, I'll make a new class because we're going to need to make a new package and class. And this is going to be in the client package, since it's a GUI, and we'll call that GUI. Then we will call our GUI test, and it's going to extend GUI screen. So import that, and then we can, well, first we will get the width and height of the GUI. So from here to here. I'd also like to mention this is 256 by 256. I think you can have it in multiples of 2 of this, so like you could have 512 by 512. But if you have something in between, it tends to go a bit weird. But just make sure you've got it this size. Even if your GUI is just that big, have it 256 by 256. Well, how big's this? If we look on our coordinates, 1, 4, 8, and 80. Alright. So the width, well, we need to make an int GUI width, which will equal 148. And then int GUI height, and it's 80. So now we have that. It's gonna be useful to have that, mainly because, well, if you have the height and width, you can easily manipulate it with the actual size of the GUI. So there's a bunch of different methods we can make here. We are going to just use draw screen. But there is also draw background, and I think that's the only other one. You probably won't use background too much. Draw screen's the main one you're going to be using, and we will rename these to. That's the X. That's the Y. And these are the ticks, or partial ticks. That's my cat, Steffi on my keyboard. Ticks, we'll just call it ticks. Obviously you don't need to rename these, but it could get a little bit confusing, so that's why I'm going to do it. My cat's making it really difficult to type right now. The basic way to have your GUI is, well, first we need to get our position of our GUI. So we're going to call this GUI X, and it's going to be the, well, we'll put this in brackets, and we want to do width, which is the width of like the entire screen, and then minus the GUI width, and then divide that by 2 so it's in the middle. And then we will do the same for the Y. So int GUI equals height minus, what have I done? GUI height divided by 2. So that gets the position in the middle. Obviously, if you don't want it in the middle, don't do that. But if you want it in the middle, just do that, and it'll be perfectly in the middle. And then what we want to do is do GL11 dot GL color 4F, and then we specify the RGB and the alpha. These are all just going to be 1. If you want to change the color of the GUI without changing it in the texture, you can do there. And the transparency, that's something you could do if you wanted to do that. Now, well, we're gonna use a simple method that's pretty useful. Draw default background, and what this does is basically, when you open a GUI in Minecraft, the background, like behind the actual GUI, goes like, as kind of like, it darkens the entire screen. So it's just like a huge layer of black that's transparent. That's what it does, which is kind of useful. If you don't want that, you don't have to use it, but it's there. And then we will do we're going to do Minecraft. Well, we might as well do this. Minecraft MC equals Minecraft dot get Minecraft. I don't know if we need to do that actually. Oh no, it's already got MC, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Well, that was a complete waste, wasn't it? We want to do render engine dot bind texture, and I'll just get rid of that. And then we want to do our resource location, so new resource location, and then reference, if I could type, mod ID, comma, textures, it's that slash, isn't it? Textures, then I made a folder called GUI, as you can see, and then called it test GUI.png, and that will bind our texture for our GUI. You can rebind it if you want to use another texture on your GUI in the same GUI, so you could do that if you want. And then we will actually draw the GUI. So we do draw textured. You could just do draw rect, and that will just draw a rectangle that can be any color you like, but that's just color. But we will be doing a textured modal rect, which is a textured rectangle instead of colored. And there's quite a few parameters here. The first one is the position, which will be GUI X, and then GUI Y, and then the next two are the U and V, so the position on the like the position of the GUI on the texture. So the 0, 0, oh, that's annoying. 0, 0 with U and V is at the top left. So that is 0, 0, and then it will go down. So like 1 will be down, and like when the U will go along like that, and the V will go along like that. So minus would go back. So that's it. Hopefully that's easy to understand. So we go from here to, well, we want our GUI starts here, and it goes there. And because it starts there, we can just put 0, 0 as our position. If you've made the texture like there, you just do the top left, and that's the UV position. And then the last two is the width and height of the GUI. Well, of what you're drawing. So we want to do GUI width. This is where it comes in handy to have these, because you can just do GUI X, Y, 0, 0, width, height, like super quick and simple and easy to understand. So we aren't done here yet, but I'm going to test this, but obviously we have no way of opening this GUI right now. So what we're going to do, we're just going to put it on the item. So if we do this on what is it called? On item right click, that's the name. We can also do it on item use, so that's slightly different. I'm not entirely sure what's the difference, but right click works fine. And then we'll just change these to item, world, and player. And then now you could also open a GUI on like well, you could use a keybind to open one. You could have a block, a mob, an item, which is what I'm doing. You could there's all sorts of things you can do. They're probably the most different ones you're gonna have. Or you could have it just open at a certain point. Whatever. So, but we are doing this. So Minecraft dot get Minecraft dot the what are we doing? The player. Actually, we probably don't need to do that. Player dot display. Oh, Minecraft dot get Minecraft dot here it is, I think. Yeah, I think it's just current screen. I've forgotten. I'll be back in a sec. Alright, this is what we wanted to do. Display GUI screen. So then we just do new GUI, well, not GUI screen, GUI test. And that should display our GUI. Now this is client side, so right now this will not work on the server, but I will get to that. So just let launch. Alright, so we have our horrible FOV and darkness. So I'm going to change the time to day. There we go. And you can see our GUI has displayed on the screen, and it will actually change depending on your GUI scale. So now it's tiny. Obviously I don't want it this small. We'll put it on large. I'll turn that up as well. And you can see that is your GUI. Now it doesn't really do much, and you have to close it using escape, which isn't too great, and it also opens twice. And you may be thinking, well, why is it doing that? Well, basically, it won't work on the server for one reason. This is client side only, but also when this on item right click fires, it does it on both the server and the client. So on the client, it will do it twice, which is why you only want to do it on one. So what we want to do is make an if statement, and we want to say if not world is remote. So if world is remote is false, then do that. And if you want it to be on the server side, you'd do the opposite. So you'd say if it is remote, then server. But obviously that is not the case for this. Most of the time you'd probably be doing not remote, but on rare occasions you wouldn't. You'd use the other. So now we will do the next part, which is actually making our GUI do something and have some stuff on it. So one thing that you could do is go on your texture and put some text somewhere. Now that's all great, but well, you can't change the language it's in, and you can't move it very easily at all. You also cannot just hide it. It's always going to be there. So what we're going to do is draw a string, which is really easy. So we just do font renderer obj dot draw string, and we have quite a few parameters here. We can also do draw split string, and basically it's the same thing, but it has an extra parameter, which is basically how far the text is going to go before it goes on to the next line. So if you have a lot of text, you can make it go on to the next line, which is really, really useful instead of having to draw another set of strings. But we will just do a normal string. So draw string, and we want to do what it says, so we're going to say test, and then we have these three parameters. Now this first one is the X, second one is the Y, and the third one is the color. So basically the X is going to be quite simple. What we want to do is GUI X, because that's the top left of the GUI, unless you want it off the GUI, but you probably don't. And then you can just add an amount to move it somewhere off the other corner. So we'll just do 10. This is a really random amount. And then GUI Y plus 5. In fact, we'll just put that to like 40. Yeah, why not? And then the color, we do OX, and then six more characters. which will be a hex code. So you can do, if you want, for white text, just F, 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 F. But we're not going to do that. And if you want to get a hex code, you can do it just by going on your image editor, and on your color picker somewhere there should be the hex code. Another way you can do it, you can go on a really useful site, which I sometimes use, called colorpicker.com. And, you know, it's just a color picker. It's literally just that, and it has the hex code right there. So you can quickly do that. But if you've got your image editor open, obviously this is probably going to be quicker. And this is actually the colour I'm going to go for, 404040. So just make sure you have the OX, and if it's the right length, it won't give you an error. So, but if I did another character, it should. Alright, it isn't. Whatever. But that will make it this grey black colour. So we will now test that. And we got a couple of other things we're going to be doing, such as buttons. And also, well, there's two types of buttons we're going to be doing. And we're also going to render items, which are quite easy actually. Well, quite. So you can see it says test there now. So that's pretty cool. We would probably want to have it there. I might change that. In fact, I will. And I'm just, you know, you can do the debug mode if you want, but I'm not going to bother doing that. And in fact, I'm just going to say 5, because it's kind of going to be in that corner. So now we're going to be doing some kind of more advanced stuff. If you want to render, for example here, we have these extra bits of the GUI. So these are actually going to be our buttons for our... Well, we're going to make some tabs. So we want them to be here. Now, obviously, you could just, you know, just have them on the texture. But then they're not very dynamic. Same with text, basically. But we do want it to look like this. So we've got this here. And we can also draw as many of these as we want on this GUI, with only taking up this much space on the texture, which is very, very useful. You also notice that these don't appear because we use the GUI height of that. If we want to render these, we just simply, that's my desktop, we just draw another modal rect. So we want to do GUI X and Y. And then this is going to be different. Well, it's going to be 0 because it's still at the edge. And then whatever this is, which is 81. So 81, and then we could make, well, might as well, int tab length, what is it? Could have put width. I probably should put width. 17 by 2. 12. It's got width. Oh my god. So that's 17. Tab height. And this is going to apply to all, all of these are the same, just different. So what this is when it's not clicked or mouse over. This is when it's clicked, and this is when it's moused over. So, yeah, that. So that's 12. What on earth am I doing? Then we just want to do tab, not height, width, tab, height, and that will draw it. Well, we probably don't want it there, do we? Like right in the corner. So we will, in fact, I'm going to put it in debug mode and get it right so it looks alright. I know most of this doesn't look that good at all. I mean, it says test and it's a white plain thing with a black box, but that's not the point. Alright, oh, what? So you can see that didn't render properly. Properly. Now, the reason that is because, well, there's a very strange thing that seems to happen with drawing strings and drawing rectangles, where basically it seems to really screw up when you have it in a certain order. So you can see now it looks fine. That's perfect. So probably want to try and make sure you have all your strings drawing at the same time. Well, drawing your rectangles, then your strings, and not drawing a rectangle, string, then a rectangle, because that could go bad. As you can see, that really didn't look right at all, but now it does. So we will add, let's say 30. That's probably a bit too much. 15. Perfect. And then the X, we'll go with 10 just to start off. Yeah, it needs a little bit more. 16. That's too much. Maybe 14 then. Yeah, 14. So that's our tab. It's quite small. Well, yeah, pretty small. But it's there. And now, obviously that doesn't do much, but it's there. It's rendered fine, which is obviously a start. Now, I don't know why I'm doing this before normal buttons, but I am, because I don't know. I just am. So what we're going to do is actually make this a button. So it's relatively simple. We just make a new method called, where is it? Where is it? If I could find it. Init GUI, that's it. So this is called whenever the GUI is opened. So when I'm doing that, it's calling this method. So what we need to do is do button list dot clear. That's the first thing you need to do, and then you can make a new button. Now there's quite a few things to a button, like the position, the width, what it says, and also the ID, because there are IDs. So what we're going to do is do button list dot add, and we need to make a new button up here. So GUI button, and we'll call this test button, and we probably need to import this. Yep. And then test button equals new GUI button, and then we probably are going to be using more parameters than that, but you can do it without without two of the parameters, but we're going to use all of them. So the ID, we can just have a 0. You could make some ints so you can keep track of the buttons properly, the IDs, but I'm not going to because I don't need to. And we're going to actually add more. And then we've got the position. So GUI X plus. Now this is actually completely unrelated to the tab I just did. We'll get back to that after this. So we'll just do plus 10 and GUI Y plus 30 just to get it out of the way. And these probably don't exist, do they? We'll just do this. In fact, I'll put it above that. I could just make it public above there, but whatever. Alright, so these next parameters are the width and height of the button, and we'll just for now make it, we'll probably want it the other way around. It does go a bit weird if you have the width and height a bit too small, but we'll have what it says here. So I'll just say test. Depending on how long you want it, obviously you want to change the size of the button. And we need to close because we are doing something that it doesn't like. And now we can run it again. I won't go and debug because we don't need to. Well, obviously this button doesn't have any functionality at all, but we will get to that as well. So you can see this is really small, like really small, and it does fit, but it doesn't look right. Like it looks like it's just been cut off. So we'll make that bigger. Make it like 30 by 20, and terminate for God's sake. Now we need to make another method called action performed, and this just takes a button, and this is basically what well, this is called whenever a button is pressed. So we're going to do a switch statement, and we're going to do button.id. So this first parameter is the ID. So case 0, and then we can do something. So there's a couple of things we could do, like saying button dot display string equals, I think you do that. Yeah, equals, and then we can say let's just make it backwards like that. So now if we launch the game again, obviously you could probably make that a bit more useful by saying on and off, and you can make it alternate. But now you can see now it's just locked to that because we didn't actually made it properly, so it goes back. But you could, I'm not going to bother doing that because we don't need to. Another thing you could do is say button dot enabled equals false, and that will make it so you can't click it, so it's like grayed out. That's pretty useful if you want a button to only work depending on certain conditions. But This isn't the best use because basically it just changes what it says and then disables itself when you click it. You could do other things like displaying another GUI if you wanted to do that. Giving yourself items, although you probably need to do packets, which I will do a tutorial on. And yeah, you can do all sorts of things with buttons, like changing how the GUI looks, for example. If you've got like a machine on a block, although obviously this isn't what we're doing right now, you could have different configurations. Anyway, that's all for the normal buttons, essentially. You can experiment around with that. If you want it to be disabled, just disable it here. Just do test button dot enabled equals false, and you can make it constantly disabled if you just want it to not work for the time being. Obviously, you probably won't want to do that, but yeah, just look through what you can do with the button. There's quite a lot of things you can do. Now, that is almost everything, apart from mouse control, which obviously people might want to do. Well, that's kind of mouse control, but it's buttons in a different way. We haven't done keyboard control as well, which I guess we could do. Which is just key typed, and then the char, which is the actual key, and I'm not entirely sure what the int is. Oh, no. Okay. I don't actually know. Sorry, this is the other way around. The int is the key, and the char is something. I'm not entirely sure. I might have to go and look, see what that is. Well, we can look at it now, see if it says anything here. Doesn't really. Yeah, I don't know then. Alright, well, in here you could do something like, if you press E, so keyboard, well, switch, we'll just change this to key and C, not X, C. Key, switch, key, case, well, key, no, keyboard dot, it's the wrong keyboard, I think it's the wrong keyboard. Yeah, this is the one we want, I think. Yeah, we don't want that. No, case, keyboard, we want that one. And then we can do key underscore E, which I'll show you what these are. If it will. Oh, there we go. Basically, all the keys are actually just ints. So you can see key E is 0x12. So that's all this is. It's just a nice, useful way of getting all the keys on the keyboard. So there's that. It's a very useful thing to know, but here we just want to do, this is going to be to close the GUI, So we want to do mc.display GUI screen, and if you just say null, it just displays nothing. So that will close the GUI. Obviously escape still does it, but you can make it a little bit more friendly, I guess, for the user, making it E. Now this isn't actually rebindable. I'm not entirely sure how you can use rebindable keys on this. When we get to keybinds, I will try and find out. But that most people are going to be using E anyway. So there's that. I've been saying there's that quite a lot this tutorial. It's also been a very, very long tutorial, like really long. But then there's quite a lot to cover, so yeah. Now let's do the mouse input. So mouse clicked even. Now this is a lot more complicated in comparison to the keyboard, because keyboard there's no position with the keys, but basically here we have the position of the mouse, which is X and Y, and then the button on the mouse clicked. So you know, mouse 1, mouse 2, mouse 3, mouse 4, or 5. But we're just going to be using mouse 1, I believe. Well, probably won't even do that. We'll just take any click. So we want to change this to X, Y, and button, and we'll just do this underneath. Now this is quite a long if, because basically we need to get the position of the mouse and check if it's in the region of the button. So basically this is going to be a little complicated. I'm actually going to make a couple of booleans here that are going to make it a little easier. The first one's going to be called clicked 1, and we'll have another one called clicked 2. So these are going to equal false by default, and what we're going to do here is the X position of the actual button, the tab thing that we've done. So that's GUIX plus 14. So if we do, we can actually just do GUIX plus 14, though we don't have GUIX. We could actually do GUI. Where is it? No, we can't. Never mind. Which I should probably just do this. There we go. So GUI. Not height, width plus 14 is less than or equal to the X position of the mouse, and the X position of the mouse is less than GUI width plus 14 plus the actual size of the tab. So that is where is it here? So that's 15. No, not 15. Oh yeah, 17 and 12. I can't believe I'm doing that. Tab width, and then we do the Y. So GUI height plus what was it? What did we do here? We could actually make this into another variable just to make it a little bit easier, but we're not going to because it's a bit of a waste of time, and this is already as long. Well, this is really, really long, so I won't be doing that. And then it's just the same but with Y. So that, and then we want to do GUI height plus 15 plus tab height. And that's our if statement. And that's quite a long if statement. But that will basically check that it's in the exact area of the whatchamacallit. The exact area of the actual tab. So that is quite a lot to take in. If you understand that, that is great, because that will really, really help, especially when you're doing it yourself. But it's rather complicated. I'm not gonna lie. There are definitely more complicated things though. Now what we're gonna do here is clicked 1 equals true, and clicked 2 equals false, and there we go. And then the same thing we're gonna do here, but instead it will be the different tab. We haven't got that yet, so I'll add that now. So that's just gonna go. We'll copy this, and instead of that we will do. Well, I'm just gonna make it go directly underneath. So tab, not height, width. Well, it can be in the same place, I guess. For that, plus tab height plus 1. Well, I guess don't need to do plus 1. We'll just do it there, and it's just going to be the same thing. It's also going to be in a different position, which is just down here. So it's 94 instead of 81, and that will draw our second one. Now we're actually drawing the clicked one. I don't know why I'm doing that actually. That's a good point. It's just going to be 81 as well. And these are both going to be the same. These are both going to look the same. So there's that. I really need to stop saying there's that. So what have we got here? We've got the same position on the X. The same, yeah, the Y is just different. So 16 instead. But it was also plus 12. So I'm just gonna do this plus tab height again, and the same. No, not the same though. So that should In fact, that, yeah, I do need to do the same there. Tab height. So now, this isn't going to do much. We won't even see a visual change, which is actually why I probably shouldn't do that. So in here, what we want to do is draw this, but with the different texture. So with the clicked one, which is that one, which was 94, wasn't it? Yeah, 94. So if we do in here the same thing, that's the right position. This isn't. In fact, I will copy this and then 94, and this should have it right. Now, this isn't going to do much at all. In fact, it will lock it at, I think, if I've done this incorrectly but correctly, I guess, it should. Well, we're not even going to see a change. And the reason we're not going to see a change is because that's such a small difference that I probably should have made it a bit more obvious. So I'm going to do that now. We're going to use something that isn't really dark. This greeny yellow colour. And we'll just do that. There we go. That looks really bad, but who cares? So we need to restart the game. I'll refresh this exact texture just because it's there. And nothing else needs to be changed. I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, that didn't... That button's getting in the way as well, isn't it? Let's just not add that button. Alright. Alright, why isn't that working? I will be back in a sec. Alright, I fixed it. For some reason, there was a little bit of a weird positioning on it, but basically what I did, I just reduced these numbers here to 6. Well, if it isn't in the right place, just try and experiment. I also made it print where it print clicked if it actually worked, and it's pretty much in line. It's not perfect, but you know, if you actually modified it and moved things around, you could get it pretty close. And I've also removed the draw textures because it's actually a far better way of doing it that I completely forgot about. And I put these up here as well. That's pretty much all I did. So now we are going to make it so it actually changes when you click. So we're going to make some new int. Well, we're going to make one int here. And it's going to be called, well, we'll call it tab1 v, because it's the v. And that's going to equal 81 by default. And then int tab2v is 81 as well. So if we now set that to tab1v and tab2v, we will have the same effect as what we had before, but we can change these, which is what we're going to do now. So if we say if clicked 1 tab 1v equals 94, else tab 1v equals 81, and then we'll just do the same thing for the second tab. Alright, so this, hopefully, if I've done this right, it should show. Yeah, so look, when I click that, it's different because I made it change, the other one changed to false. You could make it so it's not a tab and have it like a checkbox thing. That's another way you could do it. It depends what you want to do, obviously, but I've just made it a tab. And also, I've noticed that changing the change in screen size kind of messes it up. Then that's obviously a bit of an issue. Well, I say a bit, it's quite a big issue really, isn't it? I'm actually not entirely sure why it's doing that. It's probably something to do with scaled resolution, which is a really annoying thing to do. Well, although I didn't get that fully working, if you mess around with it, like this tutorial is to show you how to actually get a GUI working and stuff. I'm not telling you how to do every single possible way of making it work. This is just basically what I've done in my mod. Essentially, it's what I've been doing. Obviously, you could do a lot more with this than what I've done. And if you actually want these tabs to display different things, obviously you just check if these are clicked and do something if they are clicked. So, for example, in here you could put draw string and draw a string. You could do whatever you want. That's the great thing about GUIs. You can do it. They're so flexible, and you can do so many different things with them, and they're really awesome. Like, it's way better than not. Well, you know, having a GUI, especially when it does a lot of stuff, can be really, really good for a mod. You can obviously show the user a lot of things. You can have configuration and stuff, and all that sort of lovely stuff. And well, that's the end of this tutorial. It's a very long tutorial. It's about an hour, but hopefully this helped you. The next tutorial will be doing tile entities, which will just be probably nearly the same length. Although, considering I've basically done all of the basics here, other than the whole tile entity and container thingy, the actual GUI is going to be relatively similar, with the exception that it's actually going to have slots. But that's the next tutorial. Alright, goodbye.